Most people spend a lifetime building just one career. I've spent mine building a life. I have literally had over 40 jobs in my lifetime, all while going to school and earning an associate's degree and a bachelor's degree. And I've been a pizza delivery driver. I've been a collector, a bill collector. I've been a salesperson, a product manager. I have been an Uber driver, a limousine driver, and a bus driver, and many other things in between. Looking back, none of those jobs were wasted, and here are at least 5 lessons that all of that taught me. Lesson 1, hustle starts young. For me, maybe I was 10, 12 years old, and I started selling pop bottles. I would go door to door, people in the neighborhood, and ask for their bottles, and then I'd go to the store and redeem them for cash, and made some money and was able to buy valuable things like candy and whatever else I was interested in. Something else I was hustling and doing was collecting blue chip stamps, and some people may have heard of S&H green stamps. When you went to the supermarket, they used to give you these stamps, and you could save all those things up, and at some point we had blue chip stamps. You go cash them in for merchandise, and I mean good merchandise. I would do that and then go buy my Christmas gifts and Mother's Day gifts and those type of products for my mom or whomever. And another little hustle that I was able to manufacture. Something else I did, my mom was a salesperson and did many things. She sold Amway products, and then she moved on from that, and then there was some leftover product in the garage, and I took it and put together a presentation and went out and started selling spot remover and then some other things. But I had a little presentation. I'd knock on a door, and then I had some fake, or not fake, but I had carpet, and then I'd spill something on it, then I would clean it up with this spot remover, and got a couple of sales. People thought I was cute, and did some things with that. Another story that was really interesting. My mom had a boyfriend that worked for Budweiser. He was in marketing and distribution with them. And anyway, he was cool, and he would give us some lighting products, lamps and things like that, with the Budweiser emblem and Olympia beer and some other things that were under the Bud label. So I had these cool lights that were worth money, actually, eventually, collector's item. They still were made of metal, they weren't plastic. And anyway, those things were cool. But eventually, he brought us some stickers of this character called Budman, who's like a superhero. And, Budman was using that as a promotion. We had never heard of it. But they were cool little stickers. So I took them and I decorated our room with the stickers. And then I took some to school, and the classmates went crazy over them, and I gave some away. And then I got a bright idea, like, why am I giving these away? So I had some more. I took them again the next day, and I started selling them for like 5 cents, and they went like hotcakes. So I asked my mom's boyfriend for some more, and eventually he brought us some, and I had a business going. I was selling these things for 5 cents, and then I started looking at the different shapes and different sizes, etc. And 5 cents, 10 cents, 15 cents, and the largest ones were like 25 cents. And we had a craze going in the neighborhood. This is over in the Crenshaw area. Fifth Avenue. And honestly, I think I had a lot to do with the promotion of this superhero. And those stickers started popping up everywhere in town. So I don't know if I'm the one that's responsible for the distribution, but I made some pretty good money from selling Budman stickers. And then there was another character called Mighty Mo, the Michelob character, and just more money. And so we had that going for a little while. And again, it taught me how to earn my own money. Lesson 2 is every job teaches you something. I'm going to say my first real job, I was in junior high school, so I was 13 years old, and I took a summer job working for the Cabrillo Beach Marine Museum in San Pedro, where I was living. And this job was cool. You didn't know what you were doing. We found out the first day we're going to be tour guides for the museum. And 13 years old, so we had a script to remember. We were trained. We went through the museum, and we had to do a certain pitch for each little component of the museum. And that was the job. But you also had to tailor the presentation to the crowd. And so average crowd of average ages was just a normal presentation, but for kids you had to be a little more goofy, and you had to do a few things, and then the funny thing was for elderly people you had to do kind of the same thing. We were treating them like kids. It was kind of interesting, and I actually was pretty good. Had a good time with the job. I think we did 2 tours in the day, one in the morning and then another one in the afternoon. In between we had lunch, and we were at the beach, and it was a cool summer job, and again, fun while you're making money. Later we moved to Santa Monica, where I took a job in between the summer of the 9th grade going into the 10th grade, and I took a little collector job for the Los Angeles Times, where you will go around knocking on doors, collecting for the newspaper. And interesting job. They took you around the different parts of the city, and that's what you did. They let you out of the car, you go knock on doors. And I had one of my call sheets or whatever that said Jay West on it. And okay, and I'm a basketball fan, so in my mind thinking Jerry West, but no way. So anyway, I knock on the door, and who opens the door? Jerry West, the basketball player, for those who don't know. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, trying to keep my cool. And I know who he is, everything. So I say, hey, collecting for the newspaper, and he says, hold on. And he leaves me at the door, and then he comes back and gives me a check. And I said, okay, thank you, sir. I said, first, excuse me, you mind giving me an autograph? And I told him, I said, I'm a big fan. I'm a Milwaukee Buck fan, so I love Kareem and Oscar Robertson. And he laughed a little bit, but it was cool. He gave me his autograph, and I kept that for a while. Now, short story, spin it forward. I played basketball in high school, and I went to his basketball camp before my senior year, and I was one of the camp MVPs. Full circle. Interesting, but that's not what the story's about. As I got into high school, actually I got cut my first year playing basketball. And interesting story, I came back and made it the next year, but I broke my hand and set myself back and didn't do a lot my junior year. And then I went to that camp and became a basketball player. The camp was part of it, but gained a lot of confidence after being an MVP and shaking Jerry West's hand. So it went on, and I didn't star in basketball, but I continued to get better. And at the same time, while in high school, I was working. I was delivering pizza, and I think that's the only job I had. But as school ended, I ended up working for the Santa Monica Civic, doing whatever events and whatever they had, and had some fun times there. Again, fun while you're working. So I worked concerts, I worked the American Music Awards, met Dick Clark, I met a number of people. I was backstage for a number of concerts. I was on stage with the musical group Chic when they just came out with the song Good Times, These Are the Good Times. And I was actually backstage, and then they brought some people on stage, and I was on stage partying with Chic. And I wasn't a fan before that, and became a big fan after that. But that, other stories, other opportunities, working as an usher at the Forum and watching basketball games and concerts, saw Rod Stewart, and anyway, just all those things. And then again, I ended up going to the Air Force and doing what I did there. Played basketball on the base team there. Got out of the Air Force and then got a job again with the LA Times in a different role, but kind of similar, doing collections. And again, it's that job in itself, for the 2 years I did that, taught me so much. And one night I might be in Watts, which is, for those who don't know, that's not a great area. It wasn't back in the day and so on. But again, people live there and they need to pay for the paper. So I might spend one night there, and then the next night I might be in Beverly Hills knocking on these big doors and trying to get those people to collect or to pay for their $25 for their newspaper bill. Had me all over the city. Now, I grew up moving around and being in different parts of the city and thought I knew some things, but no, this job took me everywhere that I hadn't been. And the stories, experiences from that, I can't really spend enough time going over that. But that job taught me so much. Another job worth mentioning was working for the Evening Outlook newspaper. I worked for a lot of newspapers, but Santa Monica Evening Outlook, I worked in customer service in the evening, handling complaints, people not getting their newspaper. And again, a job where I learned a lot. I learned how to handle and deal with difficult people that were mad and upset about whatever, in this case the newspaper not getting it. And we had to calm them down and reassure them that they would get everything taken care of. And it was another job, again, another experience that contributed to the knowledge of life, talking to people, learning to handle conflict, and learning to deal with different types of people, diversity. Lesson 3, if you're still following along, opportunity usually looks like work. Again, taking on part-time jobs. I was going to school, and if I could fit a full-time job in and a part-time job and do classes, that was me. So I did some jobs part-time, or not even part-time, what do they call it, on-call type of jobs. And I did some parking cars and worked at the Playboy Mansion one particular night. Saw Hugh Hefner walking on the property with his robe on. It was the movie night, and saw different people from a little bit of a distance, but we were on the property. I got a chance to go into the kitchen and get something to eat and watch the different people come in and out. No big names that I personally met, but anyway, it was an interesting scene. The Santa Monica Civic that I mentioned, working at the Forum. Once I got to Arizona, I had an opportunity to work with NFL Films. If you know NFL Films, I'm an NFL fan and know them, and I actually worked on the sideline of a real professional football game. The Chargers versus the Cardinals. I'll never forget it. And anyway, that's another story for another day. But it was quite interesting. I met this guy at a conference. Told him how much of a fan I was. Phil Tuckett, vice president of NFL Films, and he, I was engaged. I talked a lot. You know, I know a lot about stuff, and so I had him engaged in conversation. And then I asked him, you know, how does the person get to work with you guys? You know, and he gave me his card, said give him a call sometime in New York, and you know, whatever. So I followed up. I called the guy a few weeks later and said, hey, remember we talked? You said to give a call. You might have an opportunity. He said, yeah, I got a crew coming out to work a football game. Now you can show up and you're going to do whatever it is that they need you to do. I said, okay. So the event came. I showed up with a good friend of mine, and instead of a crew, Phil Tuckett himself showed up. He's the vice president. If you look back in those years, you'll see he's a big-time guy. The vice president of the company and the main cameraman for them in those days. And this but this was in the 90s when I was doing this. This conference I went to was amazing. I met Drew Pearson, hung out with him all day, and met this guy from NFL Films. I met another guy. Anyway, crazy thing. But as a result, so now I'm at the football game, and Phil Tuckett is working. He says, well, the job is we film everything in 8mm film, so I need to change the film out every 10 minutes. My wife is going to be in the tunnel in a dark area, and I need you guys to keep me stocked up on film. So me and my friend rotated, going back and forth, bringing the film out to him on the field, you know, right there on the sideline, and we're in the football game. And I'm standing around these football players, and I'm an athlete, but these dudes, it was crazy. First of all, the action, being on the field and how fast, I mean, television does it no justice. And then the game was over, we walked across the field, and I'm on the field, and I'm looking up at these giants, and I'm thinking like, wait a minute, I'm, you know, a DB size or something, but crazy. But NFL Films, amazing. Again, just found myself working, opportunities, and I was younger and had a lot more energy too to find those things. Lesson number 4 is failure isn't permanent. And you also have to define what failure is. Just because something didn't work out doesn't necessarily mean it's a failure. Sometimes it's just, in fact, most of the time, it's just a lesson. Believe me, I tried to be a professional basketball player. Well, I thought that was going to happen for me. And I have no credentials. I didn't superstar nowhere along the line. I was on the precipice. Is that the right word? I was close a few times. I kept going. High school, I got a bad break, and then I kept going. I made the Air Force team. I got hurt my knee. Came back from that. Played in junior college. Made a team when I was 25 years old, but eventually had to quit because of my knee. And you know, I kept going, believing that maybe there was something there for me. And I look at all that, and I have regrets that people don't know me as a basketball player. But I don't look at it as a failure. In fact, in my story, I got cut my first year. I came back and I continued to be something. I made myself a credible player. I moved to Hawaii after living in Arizona for 24 years. And I thought that was something I wanted to do, and got there. That situation only lasted 2 months, and I had to forego everything that I had planned and make a decision to leave and come back, not to Arizona. I had to come back to California live with my mom. At this point, I was 50 years old, and started over. And that's what led me to San Diego and the aforementioned Uber position and so on. So I was in real estate. I had one good year where I was recognized for $1 million in sales. Those other years were just working. And again, no failure. I learned lessons from all of it. And I worked in the electronic distribution arena for 8 years, sales and product management. I may have mentioned that earlier, but from there I worked for another company with a regional job. And when I got laid off from that, I did my personal training business, ultimately real estate, etc., like I said, and then moved from Arizona in 2012 to Hawaii, and that experience, which again led me back to ultimately San Diego, and eventually the Google opportunity. And you know, none of this stuff was the end. Every job I took was leading to something. Lesson 5, you never know which job is changing your life. And, you know, I took a chance, went down to drive limousines, take people to the airport and do this new Uber thing. So it was a chance, and believe me, there were no rides in the beginning with Uber. But I hung in there. You know, the job, I said I got $200 after my first 2 weeks, and I hung in there. And then I kept going, and eventually got my Class B license, which ended up leading to bus jobs, and I did some tours and things like that before going up to Google. I took people to the Grand Canyon and Yosemite and other parks and places like that. It was an amazing experience, just didn't get paid enough. I got the opportunity with Google. And then, you know, with Google, that led to me buying the van. And none of that was planned. And the van life has given me the freedom and the savings that allowed me to travel, which is the decision I made to do, is travel. You might decide to do something else, but what an amazing experience. And then I was able to retire. I'm VA disability and drawing Social Security, and I'm just seeing as much as I can. I came to Latin America. I visited Mexico. I visited Costa Rica. I went to Ecuador. I've been to Europe. I've been over to England and Amsterdam and Greece. But then I started finding myself over here in Colombia. Started dating some ladies, but that wasn't the main reason for coming. But that was part of it. Why wouldn't it be part of it? I ended up meeting and now being married to my wife, esposa. None of it was planned. Not necessarily easy, but this is where I'm at. And that's lesson 5. Just keep going. It's funny too when you meet people, especially when you're connected, but they always ask you, what do you do? Which defines you, I guess, in some way. Or even now, I'm retired. What did you do, if they know that? Say, what do you do? And I say, oh, I'm retired. Oh, what did you do? And you say, well, me? What didn't I do? Some jobs are better than others. Some of my jobs were more exciting. Some of them were embarrassing. And most of them really, in reality, I can't say changed my life, but they helped shape my life. And everything made sense for me because I was always going to school at the same time while I was working. So I was always working towards something that would make me some money and make me happy. So learning to adapt is probably one of my greatest skills, and most definitely that's something that I get from my mother, Jules Sr. The moral of the story and the video is that life is not about following the perfect plan. It's about recognizing opportunity and adapting. So I want to thank you for, if you got this far, for watching the video. Please like and subscribe and stay tuned for more stories. Thanks again. Peace and love.